What up, everybody? It's Andy from Tap Trade. Today we're going to be using our proprietary trading indicator known as THOR to help ourselves navigate the markets. If this is your first time joining, you know that this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is simply me using our tool known as THOR via taptrade.io to help myself trade. That's it. That is all that I do. I use this thing called THOR, and that's it. I'm not a master trader. I'm not a master mathematician. I am nothing other than a guy who learned how to interpret this tool alongside hundreds of other users. If you want to learn more, visit taptrade.io, join our Telegram, and if you find your way to our Discord, you can see and join these classes live 5 days a week. That being said, let's hop in. Today's going to be super quick. If you haven't been following along, bro, we've hit fucking massive trades after massive trades. We did get stopped out of the last short that we did, but that is 8 out of like 9 winning trades so far. All things considered, really amazing. Markets are moving, markets are doing their thing. TradFi's talking about easing of trade wars. People are sort of bidding higher on futures, flatlining a little bit over the weekend. You know, all things considered, we've had upward momentum, seeing a lot of assets hit pretty damn low, some of them hitting even their all-time lows like Jupiter. And we're just looking to build our positions from there. I took about a month where I was only trading. I was just trading. I was stacking USDC. I was trying to get more and more dry powder. And I said that I was in and out of trades and I wanted to just make money and then F off. And that's what I did. And then up till last week, I started adjusting my position, and I am starting to pick up spot assets that I'd like to hold long term, at least for the rest or the remaining of this cycle, because I do have some biases that we're still going to see some upward momentum. If you've been looking around, this is arguably the start of alt season. I don't want to sit around and be too optimistic or anything, but you've seen just a ton of positive price action and support on a macro level from some assets that had just gotten the absolute shit kicked out of them. We still have a lot in terms of seeing a quote unquote alt season, but for me, I'm in a position where I'm going to start rolling some of my profits over to spot bags. The spot bags that I personally buy are Bitcoin, Solana, and that I am buying Ethereum right now. Those are my 3 big ones. They do shift. Sometimes I'll take just like a big trade. Like right now I'm holding some spot AVAX for a big trade. But the whole goal here is to remain profitable. And that's how we're going to do it. I don't really care how we do it, but we're going to do it. For me, personally, I'd like to look at a few things. So price check before we get into it. Bitcoin currently sitting at 107.3, Ethereum at 2629. One thing that you can start or should start doing in times like this is see what's trading positively. This is just a tried and true test that I've done and that people way smarter than me have recommended. When you see Bitcoin having a big pullback and you're starting to wonder or not if it's going to be alt season, or you're wondering where or not that liquidity is going, you can go and just, you don't have to go like crazy with it. Just go to CoinMarketCap and you can see what's been trading positively over the last 24 hours, if anything. That's a lot of assets, all things considered, in a completely red market. You've got Injective, THON, Uni, and then I don't give a fuck about SPX 6900, no offense. And then THON coin. So there are data points or data pieces that you can start integrating into your signal, and maybe you're going to start looking at Injective a little bit heavier. Maybe you're going to wonder what's going on with, where is it? THON coin. And I don't know if we have that one listed right now. But this is just like a direct reflection of where liquidity is going, especially when you see a dip on the pullback for like 24 hours and you see a positive price action for 24 hours, or 1 hour, not so much the 7 days. So it's like more of a moving average. But that right there is where liquidity is flowing. Now, what does that mean? Well, it could mean that you're going to see some positive price support. It could mean that it's oversold. It could mean a ton of things. But more than anything, it just gives me personally an indicator, hey, I should look into this. I should look into this coin, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. We've traded Injective a ton on this show. I've personally traded Injective a ton on this show. And it's made me great money. I think in the whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter how much money you make. As long as you're making money, you're outperforming 99% of people who try and trade. So That being said, I do currently have a small short opened up as a hedge on it. I've been building my Arweave position as a bit of a bigger, longer term long for me. I do have some buys on Arweave set up at 2 intervals lower, down at $6 and then at 7.1. Those are just places where I will DCA into my position and build it. I don't care. I really do not care that I have negative right now. I could give a fuck less. You don't go just always walking your way into a perfect trade right off the bat. I'm happy building my position. I'm happy if we get those lower levels. I am happy if I can get my entry because I have my bias now that we're going to see higher. I can't share it on my screen because I don't want to dox my DMs. But it's great when you're the co-founder of a tool and your friend is the developer of the tool, said tool, and can give you a little bit of helpful pushes if you need some extra love. And I did that for Arweave this morning. So I know where my levels are. I know where my sales levels are. I know what I'm looking to target. And that's good. That's my big macro position from a perpetuals trade that I'm taking. I am trading on Hyperliquid. You guys need to be in a legal jurisdiction to be able to do so or have the proper licensure to do so. They will ban your ass if you get caught, or they'll fucking seize your funds at worst. So you need to be careful. And you just need to follow all your local jurisdiction laws. So fun. That being said, I've got a small injective short that I opened up, not at the Pico top, but pretty damn good. We did have a short that was at 1520 to 1540. We hit all the way up to the highest point in that range. We're having our market reaction. I've got my not my stop loss, my take profit is down here at 1412. If we do it, I'll make a couple $100. I'll roll that over to margin onto my Arweave long around when we'll probably be hitting those lower levels. What does Thor say? Let's just go back to all of this. If you don't know, if you haven't known, if you don't know shit about, Thor, TAP, whatever, Thor has about a 70% average hit rate month over month from all cumulative totals. You can find all of the live trading data for the previous 30 days and the cumulative total of our trading signals at taptrade.io/Thor. I highly encourage you to start there and see what it is that we boast higher percentages in terms of win rates on, and that can just take a lot of the fluff and bullshit out of the air. Just go to what we know signals hit at least take profit 1 on a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio. So just checking Injective super quick. This went right up. We did blow past like a 14.6 short that we had right here. That's why you got risk management in place, and that's also why I knew that we had a higher level up top. And I set my short right there. Currently hit that short in like a minuscule baby amount of profit. But hey, profit's profit. No one goes poor from making profits. I am looking for that 14.12. It's an 8% return. I think I put a 3x leverage on there. So I'm going to have about a 24% return on that. Theoretically, if we get down to that take profit level. Cool. Right on, right on. No big deal. One thing that we wanted to look at, special request from the community, was hype. Before we go into that, I'm going to check Papa Thor and see what's up on Bitcoin. Daddy Bitcoin. No signals. Hard when you use algorithmically generated trading signals for you to go ahead and know how to navigate the market, but this is a big ass part of it. If there are no signals, you do not force a trade. You do not go in and... I do not go in and speculate. I do not go in and put my own spin on things. I wait for fucking signals. And if we don't have any signals, I don't have any trades. Now, if you don't know how to access our trading signals, you can do so at taptrade.io/Thor. You're going to click Thor in the upper right-hand corner. And with a Solana-based wallet, Backpack is what we recommend, or Soulflare, you can connect to our systems and you can do a pay-per-request system. You can ask about any of the available cryptocurrencies that we have via our subscription model, or you can ask about any meme coin on the Solana blockchain. Alongside that, Forex signals and all NASDAQ listed stocks. If you want more information on that, you can visit some of my previous videos. We have a ton of shorts covering how to make requests on Ask Thor, but we have subscription access, and I don't have to do that. One of these days, for the convenience of our show, I will just start focusing on that, but it's just too convenient for me, and it's just not making the transition over to Ask Thor. So I am going to use this. Your interface will look a little bit different. We have tons of walkthrough videos. Please use them. Now, Hype. Hype is where we trade now. It's where our automated services live. It's got a ridiculous buyback structure from the team. It has a ridiculous amount of volume on their exchange. We've recently gotten in contact with their team. It's been a great experience, and we are long-term bullish on Hype. I have really wanted a decentralized place for us to let our automated trading services execute effectively, and they have given that to us. So thank you, Hype. Now, first things first. We look at the asset. We zoom out on the 1 day. There's no signals on the 1 day. We're going to zoom in on the 4 hour, and then just to look and see what's up, we're going to zoom in on the 1 hour. Now, navigating down to the time frames doesn't change anything other than the time horizon that we're looking at in terms of like a trading perspective. 4 hour is still very much macro. 1 hour and 15 minute is very much getting into day trading, active management territory. For me, for my big money, for the actual things that I'll put a lot of money on, 1 day and 4 hour signals. For me, playing, having fun with a couple K here or there, 1 hour and 15 minutes. If I can stack my small wins, I'm always looking to buy into my big positions. That's just me. You don't have to be me. You can trade how you trade. That's all good. Now, what's up with Hype? Starting out, looking at the 4 hour, we see a stacked list of shorts all the way up. And now at this point, since there's so much information here, I'm not even really trying to do anything other than just sort of establish my ranges, just broad ranges. And this, if you look at it, does have some, nice little gaps in between. But this is a DCA position. This is where I would say, hey, there's a lot of information for you to consider here when making your choices. You can, if you're looking to build a position, or if you have some whatever bias that you want more hype, these are your DCA zones. 35, 33, 29, 28, and lo and behold, if we get it all the way down to 26, which is almost a 30% pullback from where we're at. It is. Now, what does this mean? It's a lot for you to go through and have to manage all of these signals. You can do a couple things in situations like this. You can set each one of these as individual one-off trades. You can set your risk to reward. You can try and balance out DCAing into some of these lower ranges. You can build one big macro position. There's a lot of ways that you can play this. For me personally, with this amount of signals stacked on top of each other, I would not do a perpetual trade. That's just me personally. Some people do it. Right on, right on. I would not. I would see this as opportunity for me to DCA into Hype if it were a conviction play for me. It is. Pretty freaking cool. So I know if I take whatever amount of capital that I want for Hype and I can break it up into these order zones, I'm going to be happy. Now, the further that you fall down the ladder, the further that you go, if you're into that DCA territory, let's just hypothetically put, all right, we get all the way down to 28. But Andy, I bought in at 35. I bought in at 33. I bought in at 29, and I bought in at 28. The maximum return that I stand to make is presented by THOR, puts your take profit 3 above your first entry. It puts your take profit 1 above your second entry. Do you get your money back from this $35? Potentially not. Now, why would you suggest for someone who wanted to do this, because this is not financial advice, why would you suggest to DCA in? Because look at the zones and then look at the take profits and say, if you did a 4-way split, 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% for whatever capital you wanted to put into a trade. If you get down to this lower range, if you were over leveraged up here, yeah, you're holding your dick in your hand, pissed off. You're pissing in the wind right here. If you broke up your trades and you averaged in, even if it's a perpetual order or spot or whatever you do, if you get all the way down here, you've compounded your entry 3 times above or below the projected first take profit level. This is when and how it can be complicated to use THOR from strictly a signal basis, but it's also the same time that you as a trader get to really establish what your strategy is. Whether or not you want to be going in and doing one-off trades, whether or not you want to be taking this as a singular trade and waiting for it to hit take profit or your stop loss is a completely valid way to go about this. My suggestion as a more, time experienced Thor user is to always assume when you have so many signals stacked on top of each other, you have to at least assume you're going to hit probably the lower one, if not at least a couple down. This just happened on the Injective short that we did. We had a ton of Injective shorts that were stacked on top of each other. I did not throw my mortgage at the first one. I don't have a mortgage. I did not throw whatever money at the first one. I did 10%. I did an additional 25%. I did an additional 35%. And I was full tilt in my position on that fourth highest signal. I could have still gone a little bit lower, but I had all of that managed into my risk and reward. Stop losses was not going to be triggered if we went lower. And I didn't care. If I wanted to add more capital, I could, but I didn't need to. This is all going to be contingent on your positioning. It's all contingent on your trading account, how you're positioned right now. Do you have dry powder? Have you just taken profitable trades? Are you just getting into trading? Whatever the F it may be, you don't have to guess at what's on the table. You don't have to guess at the possibility from your 35 entry getting fucking wrecked because you get all the way down to $26. You can now know the potentiality of those happening before you put a single dollar on a trade, thanks to Thor. Now, the big thing here, again, is look at these invalidation levels. On longs, invalidation levels serve as resistance. And so if we don't break through this resistance at $38 and subsequently $39.99, these are still mathematically on the table. You have these first three lumped into that same invalidation level at 38.9, and you got these bottom two at 39.9. I don't see any shorts on the table that would cause me to believe at this time that that is mathematically on the table. Now, very well, right after we log off this class and I quit recording, I could get a big fat short here at 43. And I'll say, all right, cool. Now I know that these could be invalidated should we hit this level. And you're not doing anything to complicate your trade here. You're giving yourself all of the available information to know how you would navigate it. If you get a $43 trade, if we just went through subsequently invalidating all of these signals, I would probably look to take a short on hype. You just went through what would be considered macro resistance on a 4-hour level. We're fucking hypothetically speaking here. And if that happened, you would know, all right, cool. We just struck through that resistance. Now we're going to go through and I'm going to take a short. That's not the case here. And so what I would say is my own bias and my own personal position right here, I would probably do a 10%, a 30%, a 40%, and then whatever I had left over down at that range, expecting that we may or may not get all the way down here, but not personally accounting for the signal right here. That's my own take on it. Your take could be completely different, and that would be completely valid. That's why you ask 10 traders, you're going to get 10 opinions. Let's zoom in on the 1 hour and see if we got anything. So it's a bunch of the same replications of those same signals. The 1 hour now showing 4-hour signals can tell us a couple things. Hey, these bigger macro signals that we thought would be like, maybe a couple days, weeks out, whatever. Now that they're showing on the 1 hour signal, we know that they're on the table soon. Now, let's get real here. All right, dude, is a 10% of your allocation or your capital for this trade is first entry, like really risk off? 100%. Will I be pissy and moany if we hit this entry and then we go right to take profit? No, I'm not. Because I just managed my risk. And if we subsequently fall through here, hell yeah, right on. I'm ready. So, when you get a bunch of signals stacked on top of each other, the best thing to do is compare lower on the timelines or on the time frames, and then also start building your plan. That's the same damn thing. If any of your signals on shorts pop up and invalidate potentially these longs, maybe you have a bit of a different risk profile. But for me, that's a really sound approach to these hype signals. You can DCA in at these levels. You can build up a perpetual position, but you need to be ready for a potential pullback damn near 30%. That's wild. Does a 30% pullback hit your stop loss on that first signal? I really fucking hope so. You know, that is a really piss poor management if you're taking this as a singular signal and you don't have risk managed, at least on like a 1-to-1, something like that, you know, because you know what's on the table. So I'm going to stop there. And I don't remember who brought up us wanting to talk about hype, but if you want to hop in and if you want to tell me like, hey man, this is how I would approach hype after giving that, so down for you to do that. You are recorded though. And if not, we're going to go and look at ETH, and then we're going to have a very quick show today because I want to get in the trenches and trade with the homies. So any questions on ETH though, just before we round it out? Or any questions on hype, excuse me. Going once. Going twice. Boom! That was a great explanation of hype. You don't need to go throw all of your money at every single Thor signal that pops up. If you're used to trading an asset, trade that asset. If you find yourself having a competitive edge and understanding the market on a specific asset, trade that asset. I can play Injective. Let's just look at how I play Injective. Really freaking great. Injective has added a lot to my portfolio over the last couple of weeks. Thank you, Injective. Love that. Ethereum also is one of those that just has like a ridiculous hit rate on the Thor trading signals and ends up working out pretty damn well overall. Let's just look at that, and then I'm going to look at Ethereum, and then we're going to bounce out of here because I'm going to go trade and make money. So taptrade.io/Thor. You can scroll down, just fun pat on the back, 84% hit rate on BNB over the last couple days, the last 30, 81 on Bitcoin, pretty effing cool. And ETH, 66%, still within our threshold at 73%. All 3-4 hour signals on ETH have hit. Hell yeah, right on. Let's see what they are. Nope, that's ETH Bitcoin. Although if you're a crypto to crypto trader, they hit. They're crazy. This is nice to see. I'm happy to see that, but let's just do our 1 day zoom out. And 19 and 16 on the table. Covers that fair value gap right here, covers that fair value gap right there. Definitely have that on my radar with a nice return, 16 to effing 40%. I don't think that we get 16 personally. I think that we gave a lot of people opportunities to buy at those ranges before. I don't think we're going to give them to them again. We could hit 19. I'll take a fat long on Ethereum, especially with 16% trading delta on it. I'm going to take that personally. On the 4 hour, I will also take this, but with a managed 1-to-1 R&R. I'll probably put a good chunk of change on a trade like this. 4% on Ethereum with, you know, average 67% win rate, 70% win rate. That's a big trade for me. That's maybe a 3x leverage, which for me with, you know, 20 grand in terms of margin, that's a pretty sizable effing trade. A 4% return, a 5% return on a $60,000 order is some people's monthly salaries, you know? The only way you get to a point where you can put yourself in a financial position to do so is to have proper risk to reward, to take those small wins, and to not set yourself up over leveraging every fucking signal. I'm just going to throw that out there for today. I know I don't like to harp on it too much. Leverage is a tool to be used responsibly though. So, but this is a great signal right here. I'm going to take a $2,400 long on Ethereum. We're a couple $100 away. I think that we could hit this entry almost any point. You still trade within this relatively new. Let's just fucking zoom the hell out though. Let's go over here. I did do my price check-in today, I think, right? 107.2 Bitcoin, 26.3 for ETH. Let's just see what we got on 2,400. Yeah, so you're around, you know, I'm going to point at my screen, you can sure tell. But look, you don't have to go through and really chop it up too hardcore. Look, if you're a master trader, right on. We're just Thor users here, us plebs. Boom, 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 support, boom, small short-term resistance. It's been bouncing around 24 and where we're at for resistance and macro support since 2020. You know, that to me is a key level. And then look, now you're down here at this $1,900 signal that we have right here. And you can do the same thing. Look at it serve as resistance, and support technically. And boom, resistance, boom, right here. These are key levels that we're talking about all the way back to 2021. Now that Thor has even put it on my radar, I know that because I just looked. No big deal. But that's my plan. This doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You don't have to take every damn trade that comes across your desk. You got to take the ones that win. And you have to take them in a way that you know that your risk is managed and that your reward is calculated beforehand. Plan your trade your plan. That's it for me today. Thank you guys for joining. My name's Andy. I'll be back on Friday. Hopefully, our baby's due date is tomorrow. I could be out literally at any time, and we will have a pause in my personal classes, but we do have educationals coming out from other Frog and Tap community members just to help us stay trading. If you have any questions, come and join us in Telegram. If you want to know more, taptrade.io is the place to find everything that we talk about here, including our Ask Thor system. That's it for me. Take care. See y'all next time. Peace.